What was the best thing the quiet kid has said or done in class? 7th grade Germany. Kid moved from Russia to Germany and ended up in my class. He didn't speak German at all. 0. That dude was huge for a kid in 7th grade, and the moment I saw him, I thought ain't no way I'll fuck with that guy, ever. But kids are ruthless, you know. So it turns out he had a bad stutter, and some kids decided to make fun of him, being protected by the fact that he had no clue what they were saying. Of course he still got the basic gist of what was going on, and to my surprise, he just dealt with it. But that one time the teacher asked him something, and as he tried his utter best to answer, one kid started laughing out loud, and I could feel something snap in the Russian kid. Now I expected to witness some quality Russian bitch slaps about to start flying towards that bully, but no, he ate it up, excused himself and went to the bathroom. Cue 1 minute later, and we hear him yelling at the top of his lungs. Another minute later he comes back to class, sits down and just has this look on his face that says 8. Continue. This guy was big enough to take that bully and throw him around like a 5-year-old throws around her Barbie dolls, yet he decided to scream off his anger and frustration in the bathroom. I respected that a lot and decided to befriend him. Without a doubt one of the purest souls I've ever met in my entire life. In Germany we call this a Renman. I am happy that you decided not to leave him alone. He is really a strong person. Believe me, it takes a lot of willpower to avoid starting confrontations like that. I've always been a big guy myself, not necessarily muscular, but I have some mass and I could probably do some damage if I charge someone, and I've had to restrain myself from doing anything violent so many times in middle school, high school. Didn't help that the people who picked on me were always really short for their age, and it would take very little effort to just end it, but I was already on admin's bad side. There was this kid, not really the quiet kid, but he was kinda nerdy and was generally viewed as being a straight kid, no trouble or anything, always got good grades, etc. I don't think I ever even heard him cuss. Not even say hello damn. One day we were goofing around in rehearsal, we were in a play together at a time, and one of the other guys said something stupid like, "My dick is a ½ inch." From the ground the other kid jumped in without missing a beat. Yeah, if you're laying face down. Caught everyone off guard. We told the first guy to just leave the room, because he would never recover from that burn coming from that guy. It's the quiet ones that bring forth the hottest flames. I would just once in my life like to come up with such an epic response in the situation and not after. One guy never really interacted with people. He participated in class and got great grades, but didn't really click with anyone. This was my first year of HS. We were eating lunch in the cafeteria and some people started yelling for help. That guy was sitting next to me 1 second, jumping over 3 tables the next. He grabbed a girl from behind and performed the Heimlich maneuver on her and dislodged some food from her throat. 400 students became really silent. The girl started coughing and the teachers arrived and we all heard her say "I'm okay" and everyone cheered. Guy just walked back to the table and ate the rest of his lunch and tried to go on with a normal day. Best part was he didn't want to be thanked. He just wanted to be left alone, and we understood. That kid has been through some things, definitely. I did the Heimlich on a woman in a steak restaurant once, and when I finished the woman and her friend were grateful, but I felt weird as I was afraid I might have broke a rib. I went back to my table and really didn't want any attention. Strange part was, when she started choking, the waitresses all disappeared. You would think that with the product they sold they all would have been trained on this procedure. In middle school there was a kid with autism. Super quiet and almost never made a noise beyond a whisper, but super sweet kid if you got to know him. Anyway, we never realized until 7th grade that this boy had the strength of a fucking titan. Field day, 7th grade. All the boys decide to do an arm wrestling contest. The biggest boys were obviously at the top. The quiet kid was off playing one of the games with some girls. He comes back, sees what we are doing, sits down and just strips through everyone. Just fucking bam, bam, bam. All the way to the top. He was giggling the entire time too. Obviously we were all amazed, and so we wanted to see just how strong he is. So we went to do the tug of war. When I tell you he yoinked all of us, I'm not joking. We realized that day whose balls had dropped the furthest over the summer. Oh, did I mention that, according to what he whispered to me, he had never worked out outside of PEP. Sometimes people with autism can have surprisingly good motor skills and strength. My friend has autism too. Before we became friends, he didn't really have any other ones. I used to think he was annoying because he made noises during class / it's because he has autism, I know, but at the time, I thought he was just being obnoxious, but later, we became friends, and I found out he's pretty cool and creative. Oh man, I have a great one. In 7th grade there was this girl in my class, very quiet, very nerdy, frizzy hair, glasses, unfashionable clothes, the whole deal. Because kids who are cool in middle school are assholes, a few boys started doing that whole fake ask out thing. They tease her in class, ask her to go on a date, make kissy faces, etc. I told them to knock it off a few times, and so did some others, but I was a target at the time too, so it wasn't much help. She mostly ignored them for a while, very much just trying to read her book and tune them out. Until one day, while we are waiting for class to start, and this one dude is really laying it on thick, and I guess she just had enough. She calmly stood up, looked him in the eye, picked up her desk and yeeted it. It didn't hit him or anyone, or do any damage to the classroom or the desk. But it scared the shit out of those boys and they never bothered her again. Miss Frizzle takes no shit. TBH, it makes me mad how seemingly apathetic middle school teachers often are about bullying. It's blatant, it's worse than any other age, and it's often pretty ignored. This was on a bus. There was this one self-proclaimed ghetto girl who could rap and talk so fast you could barely tell what she was saying. If anyone messed with her she would just light into them so fast and hard and everybody would be like ooh ooh ooh. Well, one day she lit up on the quiet kid and he answered back in kind. Just a ridiculous quick talking destruction of words. And everybody's mouth just hung open and the girl responded with man whatever and sat down. We need some specifics here. The man whatever responses were always my favorite. It's like their way of saying I can't beat you, but I'm not gonna say it out loud. A friend of mine had a class in college where the professor offered extra credit to the person who could come up with the best sentence using a list of mad-oop words he had found in freshman papers. The winner was the quiet girl with this gem dude. Do you see the chankles on that girl? I'm going to have to go home and pro it. In Germany we call this a Renman. I am happy that you decided not to leave him alone. He is really a strong person. I'm American and in my mind I pronounced a Renman the same way a redneck says un man. Kiss on his neck. If you know what I mean. Mine is quite shocking. One time the re-substitute teacher asked the quiet kid if she would care if any one of our class would be hit by a car and died. She replied with no, I'm here for myself. and I don't like or care about any of you." The substitute teacher just sat there in shock. Why would a teacher even ask a student that? That's one hell of an answer. We were dancing during the gym class to the song from High School Musical, and he stood at the very front and did the entire dance, and not the first 15 seconds that we were supposed to do. We stood still and watched him go. After the song had finished, he turned around and went completely red, with everyone else staring at him. Somehow he knew the entire dance, did it really well, and totally missed that he was not supposed to do all of it. He was absolutely supposed to do all of it. I love this. That kid has been through some things, definitely. I'm not sure I agree. Sometimes it's just how someone likes to live their life. Do what's required, do good and be happy. Not necessarily. During my first aid class, the one thing that really stood out to me was when the instructor said that some people are doers and others freeze up. It's completely natural to freeze up during a moment of crisis, but there are others out there that just spring into action and get things done. I always wondered what I was until I pulled into a fast food joint and a guy was having a seizure and choking on his food at the same time while his GF screamed for help. I've never moved out of my car so fast in my life to help him, nor did I want any thanks for it. I was just happy I managed to help someone and had answered my own question that without a doubt I was a doer. Now whenever I see something, I go in and help where I can, but I also know when there are too many already doing the job and to just step back and let them get it done whilst watching and ensuring they are okay and don't need a break. Chest compressions are a big one, where first aiders can get fatigued and will swap out. It's the quiet ones that bring forth the hottest flames. The worst insult I've ever suffered came at me in sign language. Quality, not quantity, is what counts. I'm not sure I agree. Sometimes it's just how someone likes to live their life. Do what's required, do good and be happy. I agree with you. I had a friend who in high school was a lifeguard at a local pool and he saved a young girl. He did not want any fanfare or anything, so we just didn't mention it. Most of the time not though, hence why he said what he said. Out of 70 people there will always be exceptions. He flawlessly transcribed and adapted Hannibal's monologue to roast an elderly Southern teacher who was roasting him for not addressing his name during roll with enough emphasis. Having obviously never seen Silence of the Lambs, she was confounded. Did a census taker try to test him once? Something fava beans and a bottle of Chianti. When I was in high school, sometime around 05, there were a group of assholes who screwed with this one kid every single day. He would always ignore them, and eventually they would back off. It was in a English class or something like that every damn day. On one random like Wednesday, totally unexpected, he stands up and walks over to the main asshole's desk and just jacks him in the face. It was awesome. I got called into the principal's office later that day, along with the teacher and some others, to discuss what happened. I was there because I was an unaffiliated third party who had a perfect eyewitness view. Both the teacher and I agreed that guy had it coming. Anyways, it was a legit boss moment. I'm American and in my mind I pronounced Renman the same way a redneck says man. Tony Sturk, the Enman. I mean, that's more or less the Germanto-English translation, isn't it? But from a fellow American, it is lots of fun to say, Ermachet, Irenman. This may get buried, and it's my husband's story, but we went to the same high school, so I knew this kid too. The teacher was teaching a lesson on velocity and said something to the tune of nothing comes to a stop without slowing down first. The quiet kid stands up and says he disagrees and he can prove that it's wrong. And no word of a lie, that kid ran full tilt, no hesitation, right into the brick wall. Like, splat, right out of a cartoon. I believe at this point the class stopped the lesson on velocity and moved on to something else. Oh god, I can picture it, lol. I hope he didn't suffer any lasting damages XD. To be fair, he did technically come to a stop without slowing down. Tony Sturk, the airman. Aaron earned an iron earn. Psi 2.BRG7 app 4 PS rap. Why would a teacher even ask a student that? Probably asked it as an example for something they were talking about. Sometimes people with autism can have surprisingly good motor skills and strength. My motor skills are shit, but apparently I'm much stronger than people expect, oftentimes including myself, for better or for worse. I wish I knew more about the cause of what my brother lovingly calls my retard strength. Can't deny it's a real thing, though, at least for me. The motor skills didn't build themselves, so we had to do it for them. I'm autistic. Singular muscle firing's easy, but controlling the usage of multiple muscles at the same time is just hell, as I had to think of every single muscle movement required, and in what order. We don't go, oh, an arm. What can I do with it? What can I grab? We go, I can control this thing. HMM. Cool. The whole principle of grabbing something isn't there. It is unnecessary after all. We concluded what movements the arm can make. Why bother with testing? It already works. And so basically every combo of muscles starts out as perfect individual processes combined instead of one imperfect program building itself to perfection over time. Training is required to gain the automation. And so muscles built. And so I stand here, horribly out of proportion. I was the quiet kid at class, and also considered as the kid that never got in trouble. In about 7th grade, I was with the rest of my classmates at our lockers getting our stuff. Well, my locker wouldn't open, and I got frustrated and shouted out, "You fucking piece of shit," at it, and the whole hallway just went dead silence as everyone stared at me in full surprise. Apparently none of them ever heard me cuss before, though my friends knew that I can cuss when desired. It was a bit amusing to see their startled faces. Same thing happened with me. We were at an assembly in 8th grade when my friend told me something, and I automatically said "holy shit" really loudly. When I looked up, everyone's jaw was on the floor, because apparently I was the innocent one. I cursed semi-frequently back then, so I'm kind of surprised that no one had ever heard me say any curse words before then. Lol. He was absolutely supposed to do all of it. He was born for that moment.